baby, I'm a boss.
Who's the boss, of course?
Mr. Talk 718.
Only one in charge.
Now that's the boss.
I'm a boss. I call a shot.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Talk Life Media. Today, we're going to discuss a topic that is often misunderstood and overlooked in discussions of the histories of the Americas: the misconception that Black people are Native Americans. This belief is rooted in the historical context of the transatlantic slave trade, in which enslaved Africans were brought to the Americas and often referred to as Indians. This led to the conflation of Blackness and indigeneity, resulting in the false idea that Black people are native to the Americas. However, this belief has been consistently challenged and disproven by scholars from various disciplines, including anthropology, archaeology, history, and sociology. One example of the misconception can be found in the works of the 19th century anthropologist Lewis Henry Morgan. In his book, Ancient Societies, 1877, Morgan argued that Black people were the lowest stage of human development and were therefore the original inhabitants of the Americas. This idea was later disproven by the work of anthropologists such as Franz Boas, who argued that the indigenous people of the Americas were not related to Africans and had distinct cultures and histories. In the field of archaeology, research has shown that the first peoples of the Americas were of Asian origin and genetic and cultural link to modern-day indigenous people. Studies on human remains and artifacts have revealed that people of African descent did not live in the Americas before the arrival of the Europeans. A study in 1920 by the University of California, published in the American Journal of Physical Anthropology, found that the ancient remains of people who lived in the Americas before the arrival of Europeans were overwhelmingly of East Asian descent. Farron Schmitz, ETAL 2020. So that would be the Bering Strait across the Bering Sea. When it froze, you had a lot of Asian people walking across from Asia into Alaska and making their way south. Those are one type of Native Americans. It is also important to acknowledge that the presence of Afro-descendants population in the Americas predates the transatlantic slave trade and can be traced back to the arrival of free and enslaved Africans during the colonial period. Let me read that again. It is also important to acknowledge that the presence of Afro-descendant populations in the America predates the transatlantic slave trade and can be traced back to the arrivals of free and enslaved Africans during the colonial period, as well as earlier instances of trade and migration. For example, Afro-Latino communities in the South and Central Americas have been present since the colonial period, and these communities have distinct cultures, languages, and histories that are separate from those of indigenous people. This is from Torres Rolfe, 2013. This misconception not only erased the distinct histories and cultures of both indigenous people and Afro-descendant populations in the Americas, but it also perpetuates harmful stereotypes and undermines the struggle and contribution of Black people in the Americas. It is crucial that we reject the conflation of Blackness and indigeneity and acknowledge the unique experience and contribution of both groups. This is from Bailey, 2010. It is important to note that this is not just a matter of semantics, but also has real-world implication. The falsely equating Black people to Native American denies the specific injustice and discrimination that Black people have faced in the Americas, whether in the United States or in other countries in the region. This is from Bailey, 2010. The belief that Black people are Native American is a baseless and harmful stereotype that has been challenged and disproven by scholarly research in multiple fields. It is crucial that we acknowledge the distinct histories and culture of both indigenous people, Afro-descendant populations in the Americas, and reject the conflation of blackness and indigeneity. The belief that black people are Native American is not only historically inaccurate, but it also denies the distinct experience and contributions of both groups. For example, people in the Americas have faced centuries of colonization, genocide, and cultural assimilation, while black people have faced a legacy of slavery and ongoing systematic racism. I don't know too many Native Americans or black people who's been through the same thing. I mean, yo, I just want to say, like, they came to the Americas and they basically wiped out a large group of Native American, not just through murder but through polio, through different diseases. I mean, let's not take what they went through and make it ours, because that's theirs. Additionally, this misconception ignores the diversity of indigenous people in the Americas and the rich culture and tradition that they have continued to maintain and revitalize today. Indigenous people in the Americas have over 5,000 distinct nations, each with its own language, spiritual beliefs, and cultural practices. To equate black people to the indigenous people is to erase the unique contribution and experience to both groups. This is from Tuck Yang, 2014. Moreover, the notion of black people being Native Americans undermine the importance of recognizing and addressing the ongoing struggles and injustice faced by indigenous people, particularly in the context of ongoing efforts to preserve the lands, cultures, and sovereignty. This includes the protection of indigenous territories from extractive industries, the restoration of indigenous language and cultural practice, and recognition of indigenous peoples' rights as self-determined nations. And this is from Castellanos in 2020. Furthermore, the conflation of blackness and indigeneity also denies the rich history of black resistance and activism in Americas. This includes the struggle for civil rights and anti-colonial movement led by black activists and leaders in the 20th century, as well as the ongoing effort to address systematic racism and police brutality faced by the black communities today. Bailey, 2010. In conclusion, it is crucial that we reject the misconception of black people being Native Americans and acknowledge the distinct histories and experience that both groups went through. This includes recognizing the unique struggles and contributions of indigenous people, as well as the rich history of black resistance and activism in Americas. By doing so, we can work towards a more inclusive and accurate understanding of the diverse people and cultures of the Americas. Now, if you want any of these sources, I would gladly leave them in the bottom of my profile down there below, down there. I want to say to anybody who's out there, YK, the truth is actually being, he's been correct on all of this. I honestly believe science gives you the answers that you're looking for. So if you want to know who you are, I would strongly suggest genetics. In other words, DNA. You can go to any source, but I strongly suggest African ancestry, or if you can't afford it, Ancestors or Ancestry.com, Ancestry.dna. I did Ancestry.dna. I have 0% Native American blood in me, but I have more white blood or white DNA than any other nationality outside of Africa. So I have 13% European blood, 13%. So that should tell you I am more African than anything. I'll never conform. I will never pretend to be something that I'm not. I don't want to appropriate anybody's culture. I want to be the strong African man that I am. I'm taking this off because I want to show you the culture that we have in Africa. You see this? This is a mask. We have culture. Don't deny your culture. Don't deny. Don't deny. Don't deny it. It's not, we're not all, you know, Egyptian. We're not all, we, we're not all from Egypt. It is impossible. You know, you do have some black people that are Egyptian by blood. But if you ask me, this beat feathers any day. And no disrespect to my brothers and sisters that are truly Aboriginals and Native Americans. Look at the beauty. We as people, as people, as people from different cultural backgrounds, especially people of color, we are related. We are related. We are related through spirituality. So when you think about Africa, and the main thing we talk about in Africa is the pyramids. You go throughout Africa, you will find similar structures. But then you come to America, and our relatives, our cousins, they cousins through spirituality, right? They have similar beliefs. They have similar structures. They have a lot of similarities, but that don't make us the same. You go to South America, you go to Mexico, you have pyramids. You go to Egypt, you have pyramids. You go to South America, you have pyramids, right? You go to Africa, you have obelisks, and you have large structures that represents the spirituality of the people. And then you come to the Americas, and you will find the same things. There's no knock on anybody, but I will not appropriate anyone's culture. I will not appropriate anyone's lifestyle. If you really want to know who you are, take a minute or two, fall back. It's not all about genealogy, because you can only get but so far. But when science is giving you a way to find out who you are, take it. It's kind of weird that you have people who will go with DNA for their children, these same people that will deny it to find out who they are. But they can go with a DNA test when it's time to find out who their children are. I'm looking at you guys. I'm looking at you guys who are hypocritical to the DNA, to the science, and turn around and will point a finger and say, I can't take white sources, I can't take black sources, I can't take this, I can't take that. Yo, information is information. And it's what you do with that information that would allow you to find out who you really are. Now, I have done a little genealogy, and I can go maybe to 1850, 1840, 1850. But after that, there's a stop. So the DNA has given me the ability to find certain people in my family that I would have never known about. And we shared that tree. And so we can bridge the gaps, but still the DNA helped me. So I just want to say big up to you, YK the Truth. Brother, you was right. And I support what you're doing. Big up to you. And again, we have our own beautiful culture. Don't be scared to embrace it. This is who we are. And this is just one group. Don't be afraid. Embrace. It's your man, Mr. Talk. This will be my only time addressing this, but it needed to be addressed because when the truth is out there, we have to take it, dissect it, and find out what we need to find out. And with that being said, I want y'all to know who I am.
Baby, I'm a boss.
Who's the boss, of course?
Mr. Talk 718.
Only one in charge.
Now that's the boss.
I'm a boss. I call a shot.
Peace, y'all.